Billionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams. I know niggas who played ball and gave it up for lean.
Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams, but my account in overdraft, I'm about to scream.
Rich man greed,
A poor man prayers,
every man bleeds.
but look how God made us.
Too many losses, it's only right that we win. Yeah, I made a promise I'm never gonna lose again.
Yo, what's going on? It's your boy SL550, and this is the N.G.L.A. podcast. Before we start, man, make sure y'all like, share, subscribe to the channel. I truly do appreciate it. Seriously. Man, today we're going to talk about we're going to get into a few things, man. So, Matt Moore's TV breaks down. We're going to get into that first. He breaking down, kind of giving like an update with this whole Epstein situation. It's kind of not been talked about too much lately, but he's going to give some interesting information on Epstein and Trump specifically. Then we're going to jump into, CNN, because the media, they just don't like speaking the truth, And it's just so good to just see them just constantly just losing. People getting fired like Joy Reid and what was Stephen Colbert. It's a few of them, just a few, but it just feels good just seeing them lose because they don't deserve to win, and this is what it is. Yes, they were winning when Joe Biden was in office. That's because they was paid to just say a bunch of goofy shit and they was threatening Facebook and all of them to basically cancel pages and all types of stuff, man. So just the media, there's just a lot going on with them. So we're gonna tap in with that, and also we're going to tap in with Fox News, with Jesse Waters and Sean Hannity, giving some updates on Trump and the Nobel Peace Prize and Gavin Newsom, killing California, like literally just wrecking it, just crazy what he's doing in California. Like so expensive. My bad. Let me put my phone on silent. It's my bad. Also, we're gonna end it with an interview that J.D Vance had with Laura Ingraham. And see what they was talking about. It's always interesting to see J.D Vance. You don't see him too much because Trump, he be taking up all the news slots. So we're gonna see what J.D Vance was talking about. But let's get into this first video with Matt Moore's TV talking about Trump and Epstein. It's pretty interesting.
Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday afternoon, President Trump's former Attorney General Bill Barr just dropped an absolute bombshell that honestly changes the entire narrative as it relates to the ongoing investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. You see, earlier this month on August 5th, the House Oversight Committee actually subpoenaed the Department of Justice demanding the release of everything in their possession that relates to Jeffrey Epstein, so we are about to be getting a lot more information. And so, because of this congressional investigation, yesterday afternoon, former Attorney General Bill Barr gave his testimony under oath about everything that he knows relating to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, as you all know, Bill Barr was President Trump's Attorney General from February 2019 to December of 2020, when he resigned because he disagreed with President Trump about all of the very obvious fraud that took place in the 2020 election. And so since then, Bill Barr and President Trump have had a tumultuous relationship, to say the least, which is why it makes it so massive that Bill Barr just came forward yesterday afternoon and said that when he was Attorney General, he didn't see anything in the Epstein files that would criminally implicate President Trump. Now, keep in mind, Bill Barr was the Attorney General during Epstein's 2019 arrest, when Epstein died in his prison cell, and when the original Epstein files were put together. before Joe Biden got into the White House and before the Democrats got their hands on the files. And this is super important to make note of because we've all heard President Trump say time and time again that between 2021 and January of 2025, the Democrats edited and manipulated those files. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what, Bill Barr's testimony under oath yesterday afternoon pretty much confirms that there is no evidence that links President Trump to any of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, completely dismantling the far-left radical progressive narrative trying to damage President Trump. And I'll tell you what, Bill Barr's lack of loyalty to President Trump actually makes his testimony in this case even more credible. He has absolutely no motive to protect him, yet he still declares President Trump's
So basically he's saying that they had a falling out because Trump was saying they cheated during the 2020 election, and this guy, Bill Barr, didn't agree with Trump. So basically they didn't see eye to eye. Trump fired him, I'm guessing. And so basically he's saying that he has nothing to gain from this, and basically he had the files in 2019 because Trump was still in office, and so he actually seen these files. So it's interesting.
The reality is, Bill Barr doesn't even like President Trump, and he's most certainly not trying to get anything from President Trump either. He doesn't want a spot in the current administration. He's not trying to get a pardon. He doesn't even need one. He's just telling the truth because, once again, he was under oath. But now, folks, I've got something else I want to show all of you guys today, but first, I do want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news updates, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. But okay, check this out. Let me go ahead and introduce all of you to a man named Michael Wolff, who's a political journalist that conducted over 100 hours of recorded interviews with Jeffrey Epstein between 2014 and 2017, before he died. You see, Michael Wolff actually recently had something very interesting to say about this entire situation. Take a look.
Epstein believed that Donald Trump went to the Palm Beach police and said, Jeffrey Epstein has young girls at his house, thereby beginning the legal process, which would ultimately bring Jeffrey Epstein down.
So, folks, do you understand what all of that means? Jeffrey Epstein himself actually believed that in 2004, it was none other than Donald Trump who first reported him to the police, which led to his arrest in 2006 and ultimately his criminal conviction in 2008. Have you heard that in the mainstream media?
Crazy.
Yeah, didn't think so.
Nope, you didn't hear that, and you won't hear it. And honestly, like, hearing this is really not a shocker though, because let's be honest, if Trump was in the Epstein files in any way that it puts him in a negative light, Joe Biden and the Democrats would have been aired that out. They've been trying to lock him up, kill him, all types of stuff. That's like guaranteed they would have aired that out ASAP. So the fact that now it's coming out, and that was somebody, he said that he conducted interviews. I don't know if he was like a therapist or a detective. I'm not sure. Did it say? Let's go back and see real quick. Did it say what he was? Come on. What the heck? You know what?
Jeffrey Epstein himself actually believed that in 2004, it was none other conviction in. Have you heard 2008? Have you heard that in the mainstream media? Yeah, didn't.
My bad. I just wanted to see if
Jeffrey Epstein down.
So it says doesn't have. Okay, so it doesn't have anything that says what he is. What he's probably like some type of a attorney or something. It has to be something. He's either like an attorney, detective, therapist, something. But he said he had a lot of hours of interviews with Jeffrey Epstein. So for him to, so he actually probably had some, you know, deep conversations with him. And for him to say that, he basically said that Jeffrey Epstein believed that Donald Trump snitched on him and said, went to the police. And that's how the whole thing pretty much started. So nobody knew that. And this is coming from people who I don't think have anything to gain. I know the first guy, Bill Barr, he didn't like Trump. He don't even like Trump. So it's definitely
only now that President
crazy.
Trump is back in the White House are we finally getting some transparency. But you know what? We actually have yet another key figure here who actually further corroborates President Trump's innocence. Take a look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is attorney Bradley Edwards, who back in 2008 actually represented over 70 of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. So go ahead and take a listen to what Edwards had to say about President
70?
Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, "Let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know," and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
That was in 2009?
That was in 2009. So,
do you know if there's any...
So he said that he got information from Trump that actually checked out, that was valuable for them. So Trump actually was part of basically taking Jeffrey Epstein down, from what it looks like, allegedly, but this is coming from an attorney, and that picture looked way different though. He had like long hair in that joint. But this is the attorney for the victims. So he was basically interviewing and probably getting depositions from a lot of people. And he basically was saying that out of all of the very powerful people who have influence and money, Donald Trump was the one who said, I'll pick up the phone, or we can meet, whatever, how they did it, and gave him all the time that he needed to get the information that he wanted.
Any truth to James Patterson's claims that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago?
I've definitely heard that.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. As it turns out, Donald Trump not only tipped off the police about Epstein in 2004, he banned him from all of his properties in 2005, and then willingly provided information to help Epstein's victims in 2009. Folks, at this point, we not only have an absolutely overwhelming amount of evidence proving that President Trump wasn't criminally involved with Jeffrey Epstein, but that also he actually worked with law enforcement to help shut down Epstein's entire criminal enterprise. And so I'll tell you what, while the Democrats are attempting to politicize the Epstein situation in order to slander President Trump, the reality is it's only now that President Trump is back in the White House that the truth is finally getting exposed. And that truth is crystal clear. Like we said earlier, Bill Barr has absolutely zero reason to lie. In fact, because he was under oath, if he did lie, he could catch some federal charges. And once again, as Attorney General in 2019 and 2020, Bill Barr had complete and total access to the Epstein files before the Democrats tampered with them. So if anyone knows what was really in those files, it would be Bill Barr. And so, folks, here's the reality. In addition to all of the other information that we've gone over today, Bill Barr's congressional testimony just proves without a shadow of a doubt how desperate all of the far-left radical progressives really are to criminally link President Trump to Jeffrey Epstein, despite a complete and total lack of proof or evidence. And once again, between 2021 and early
They ain't never need
2025, when
that.
the Democrats were running the country, as far as all of this Epstein stuff goes, it was radio silence. Only now that President Trump is back in the White House are we finally getting some answers. And so now, as we look to the future, thanks to the House Oversight Committee and President Trump's DOJ's willingness to release all of their information that relates to Jeffrey Epstein, over the next couple of days, we are going to be getting a lot more information. That said, it's important to keep in mind, despite what the left-wing media has been screeching about for the last couple of weeks, we now have the absolute proof that President Trump is completely clear of any wrongdoing whatsoever. Which means that now we can finally try to get some justice for the victims and actually hold the real Epstein clients accountable for everything that they did. And so, folks, as I like to say, this is exactly what it looks like to finally put America first.
Yo, that's crazy, right? Like, that's deep. It's definitely some information, and you ain't gonna see CNN talking about it. I would tell you that much. Because they don't do nothing, all of them don't do anything but want to make Trump look bad, man. But every time you turn around, just be honest, right? Every time you turn around, right? Or you just, you do a little digging, or you may, hop on a few pages that you might not normally hop on just to see what they talking about. And you just learn something. You learn something. And you learn that Donald Trump really ain't the guy that they have painted him to be for all of these years. And that's why so many people, brown, black, white, Asian, monks, everybody is fucking with Trump. Because they have all seen through. Because it's like this. Once you see a couple lies, now you like looking at everything like it's a lie. And then now that's making you question everything. And then it's making you also go back and do some more digging and some more research on certain things, So it's like, then you realize, like, damn, all of this time I didn't like this guy just specifically because I align with a Democratic Party. But this whole time, they've been the snakes. They've been the liars. They've been the ones that have done nothing for America. They've been running your city into the ground, literally. Crime, illegal immigrants, giving all our taxpayer money away to, foreign aid to save lives and all of this goofy shit. They'll show you Africans in little huts and stuff like that, when that's not how Africa looks, bro. Africa is beautiful. It's industrialized and all of that, but they want to make you think that it's poor and it's these people need our aid and all of that. In some places they do, but not how they try to make it out to be. So it's crazy though, man. So this basically, and that guy was testifying under oath. A guy who doesn't even fuck with Trump, who I believe Trump fired because they didn't see eye to eye about the 2020 election results. And he was under oath, and he could have tried to make Trump look bad. He could have said anything. And mind you, he had the files before Joe Biden and them got to it. So just imagine, they're saying that basically Joe Biden's administration maybe burned or edited or whatever these Epstein files. So you don't even know really what's in there. That's why Trump, now that I'm thinking about it, that's why Trump was saying that, we have to have credible files. Like, these have to be verified and it's got to be 100% accurate, because he knows that there's a lot of things that have been altered maybe. So it's crazy, man. But let's get into this. Let me see. Let's get into this CNN video. Let me see. Hold on.
Now, the president of Finland, Alexander
Yeah.
Stubb, as I promised, is with me because he was inside that meeting with Trump and Zelensky.
So this right here, right, is every single time these anchors, these hosts do interviews with anybody that has any type of affiliations with Trump, was in the room with him, anything, just watch the line of questioning. It's just like when Caroline Levitt is having her press conferences and these, fake journalists, reporters ask stupid questions, and they just get mad that they're not getting, the results that they want. But you know what they are getting? They're getting truth.
Today, sitting next to Zelensky across from Trump. Finland, a crucial country for NATO and Europe, sharing an 830-mile border with Russia. In fact, it is the longest European border with Russia, and Finland is part of NATO. So, as we made the point before, it's not about NATO, even though Putin may say sometimes that it is. President Stubb, I appreciate your time. I'm so glad to talk to you again. I know it has been a long day, and you had to be flexible and go with the flow. Some things happened, unexpected timing, which speaks to the moment that we're in, the uncertainty. So at one point in this meeting, you're in the room across from Trump. You're sitting next to President Zelensky. And Trump at one point calls Putin in a call that Russia now says was 40 minutes long. I'm so curious, Mr. President, was there any conversation in the room about that call? Did Trump talk to you beforehand about it or after he got off the phone with Putin?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, this was very much a day of Team Europe and Team US together supporting Ukraine. So first, us Europeans, we had a pre-meeting, and then after that, Zelensky had a bilateral meeting with President Trump. And then we spent the better part of 4 hours together with President Trump sussing out what we can do next. And one of the plans was for President Trump to tell President Putin basically what we had decided in the meeting. So yes, it was very coordinated and very constructive.
So you're saying that call, when the meeting sort of got paused, it sounds like what you're saying is because of the conversation that you're having in the room, that you all sort of said, okay, he said, all right, well, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'm going to go call him now. You guys were all in agreement with it? This is sort of how it sort of organically played out?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so basically there were three outcomes of today. The first one was a good conversation on security guarantees. In other words, security guarantees by Europe and coordinated with the United States for Ukraine. And we start that work on concrete things immediately. The second one was a suggestion of a bilateral meeting between Zelensky and Putin. And that was what President Trump was testing with President Putin, and President Putin had agreed to do that meeting. And then the third step is after the bilateral meeting, if everything goes well, which is of course always a big if when you're dealing with Putin, there'll be a trilateral meeting. So I think this was one of these meetings where we kind of took, 3 steps forward rather than any backwards.
Do you know what Putin, what Trump,
like
said to Putin on the phone? I mean, what were the specifics that he put out there?
Well, I mean, President Trump then, after the call, we agreed to meet in the Oval Office, and we had a very thorough briefing by him of the conversation. But obviously, in diplomacy, what happens in the Oval Office stays in the Oval Office when the media is not in there.
Look, she don't like that. She like when bosses is talking, when that's, we just keep it between bosses. You heard?
Well, that isn't always true, but I appreciate that you are taking the high road.
Well, it is for this situation.
And doing the right thing. I don't mean to laugh about it, but
yes, you do.
In this context, you're talking about he gets on the phone with Putin, then you all go into the Oval Office.
These people are jokes.
There was a moment where
it's just all fishing. Like, it's just fishing. It's like, let's not be happy that Trump is this close to ending this whole Russia-Ukraine war. Let's not clap and applaud Donald Trump for making these big deals with the EU, Japan, who else? Indonesia, Like, he's making, dog, he's doing, like, good things, bro. You know, if Jerome Powell lowers the interest rates, you know, that's going to help when it comes to buying homes and things like that. It's like so many things that he's already did and that he's doing. And this is just one thing that you could tell, like, this whole situation is in his way. And he wants to move past it. He wants it to be done. He wants it to be done. And she's about to show something that's interesting.
Where I believe Trump was talking to your colleague Keir Starmer, and he said something that was caught on a hot mic. He was talking about Putin. Let me play it for you, Mr. President.
I think he wants to make a deal for me. You understand? As crazy as it sounds.
So he said, I think he wants to make a deal for me. And it's as crazy as that sounds. So basically he's saying that I think Putin wants to get this deal done for me. You know what I mean? Like, and that makes sense because Trump probably like, yo, I just want this to be done. Like, I got bigger shit to do. I got plans. Like, you know, I'm trying to do business and trade and all of these different things, you know, and this is just in the way and it should have been over with. And this is not even my war. This ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm just trying to finish it up. So I can see that.
So you have told, I know in the past, Mr. President, Trump, that no one can trust Putin, right? You have the longest land border in Europe with Russia. And you have a lot of troops that are on that border, as you've told me. And that's because of Russia, right? To state the obvious. What is your response when Trump says something, even at this point, that he believes that Putin will make a deal for him because of him?
Well, I mean, I've been involved in peace mediation before, and I think that President Trump is genuinely trying to bring this war to an end, and we're all working in that direction. But of course, you know, we are dealing with President Putin, and we do have to understand that his, you know, basic strategic aims have not changed, and they are threefold. He wants to see Russia as a superpower. He wants to split the West, and he wants to deny the sovereignty of Ukraine. So that's the reality that we're dealing with. The reality is also that we have, you know, a minimum of 1,000 people dead or wounded every day. So we're trying to do our best through diplomatic means to find a solution to this conflict, to Russia's war of aggression.
And when you talk about Russia's war of aggression and the history here of what Putin wants, it's personal to you, and not just because you happen to be the president of Finland and you've got the largest land border, all those things that I keep repeating. I mean, it's personal to you. Your father, your grandfather were both born in cities that Finland was forced to cede to the then Soviet Union, cities that are part of Russia now. So, I mean, do you have any doubts about Putin's ambitions when it comes to expanding Russian territory?
Well, I mean, we've seen that
though.
in both Georgia and in Ukraine.
It's like, this is like the fishing. It's fishing. Because he already said that basically, like, with Putin, we don't know. So he can't say concrete 100% that, you know, this is what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Because Putin he's not an ally. So he already made that clear. But of course, they want to ask the question.
Ukraine.
Different way.
But, you know, I keep on stressing the basics of it. So statehood is based on independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. And after World War II, which for us was the Winter War and the War of Continuation, Finland retained independence, unlike, for instance, our Baltic friends, unfortunately. But we lost sovereignty to decide, and we lost territory. But the difference there is that at that time Finland was alone, but now Ukraine is not alone. And that's why I think it's so important that all of us, both Team Europe and Team US, keep on working for the independence, for the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of Ukraine. And to be honest, I think if we work on the security guarantees, that will guarantee sovereignty and it will strengthen territorial integrity as well.
President Stubb, I appreciate your time, and thank you so much. I'm glad to speak with you again.
Yeah, man, but they just be snakes, bro. Big snakes. they just be wanting to fish and ask dumb questions that they already know the answers to. They already know how they're going to answer it. But they just want anything for clickbait, hoping to get a viral moment, anything. And see, the president of Finland was honest. He was, you know, steadfast in his conversation. Like he wasn't holding back nothing, but yet he wasn't wasn't giving her the confidential information. You know what I mean? The conversation, you could tell he has integrity. He's a president. He's a leader. You know, and she's a bullshit journalist who just want to report. Like she just want to hope to get anything that they could click and run on the late night. You know what I mean? It's crazy. But anyway, let's get into Jesse Waters. Get into Jesse Waters giving us some
70,000 monks just broke their vows of silence to nominate Trump for the Nobel.
Dear Mr. President Trump, we are standing here today with hearts full of appreciation. Today, 70,000 Cambodian Buddhist monks are wholeheartedly supportive of our Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet to nominate you for the Nobel Peace Prize. Please accept, Mr. President.
70,000 monks can't be wrong. After Trump brokered a peace deal between Cambodia and Thailand, the monks went ultra MAGA and shaved their heads like Stephen Miller. So 47's thinking about sending them all 70,000 of them Trump 2028 hats, duty and tariff-free. Zelensky and Macron went home yesterday with hats that said 4 more years. Just like when you visit a museum, Trump brought them to the gift shop right before they hit the door. Putin wanted a hat too, but instead Melania gave him a letter that said, "Stop killing kids." And Trump buzzed them with B-2s.
Alaska was a show of force by President Trump. He invited President Putin to land that the Russians used to own. He displayed a huge amount of military hardware and then did a flyover. It was kind of like inviting your uncontrollable neighbor to your house and showing him your gun case.
Trump's giving everybody options, the easy way or the hard way. This time, Zelensky picked the easy way. He wore a suit, said his thank yous, and brought Trump a big, beautiful gift, a putter.
Hey, yo, just think about that, though, right? It's small things like that that matter. Like, Trump brung Putin here and Zelensky. And when he brung Putin, he had the what was it, the F-2, whatever it was, flying over. You know what I'm saying? They had the big, the probably the same jet or whatever, parked up like right there where they got off where he got off the plane at, like just showing military shit and all of that. Like, just letting them know, like, oh, yeah, like, we with the shit. So you either gonna get down or you gonna lay down, motherfucker. And then Zelensky, that nigga came last time dressed like one of them Russian mobsters from back in the day and shit with some bullshit on. And they was coming at him about not wearing a suit. And this time when he showed up with a suit on. Trump be making
from
these
a Ukrainian soldier
move, right?
who lost his legs in a war and then picked up golf. Engraved on the head, let's put peace together.
Constantine, first of all, I just watched your swing. I know a lot about golf, and your swing is great. It looks beautiful, and you're going to be a very good golfer very soon. But I also want to thank you for this putter. It's beautiful, and it's made with real love, and it's given to me with real love from you, and I appreciate that. Every time I sink a putt, I'll be thinking about you.
Maybe the president will bring his new putter to Doral, where the PGA just announced Trump's club will host a tour event. The Europeans already calling it Daddy Shack. Yesterday, they were on their best behavior. Trump kept calling France's president by his first name, Emmanuel, and Macron responded with a Mr. President. He was, quote, like a schoolboy speaking to his teacher. That's how President Trump likes his allies to behave. And although the leaders were still meeting as this column went to press, he appears to have whipped them into shape. The Europeans were sitting around the Resolute desk yesterday like they were waiting for class to start. Trump was giving Europe a geography lesson. He even put up the big, beautiful map and sent it home with Zelensky as homework. If Zelensky can read a map like Trump can read a putt, we'll have a deal in no time. The last president to save Europe from Russian aggression was Reagan, and his portrait was staring them down in the Oval. Compare that to Trump's first term, when Europe and Merkel were trying to look down on him and tell him he was wrong. Now Europe realizes he was right about everything, and they're the ones doing the listening. Even Obama's guys are admitting 47's in control.
Whoever had the idea to bring all these European leaders together, in addition to President Zelensky, that was a brilliant, brilliant idea.
Donald Trump didn't make Europe feel too comfortable. When it was time to get down to business and call Putin, he kicked them out of the room.
I didn't do it in front of them. I thought that would be disrespectful to President Putin. I wouldn't do that because they have not had the warmest relations. And actually, President Putin wouldn't talk to people from Europe. I mean, that was part of the problem.
CNN is now whining that Zelensky had to wait in the hallway.
The fact that he feels he's got to check in with Putin right away still feels like Trump needs.
Just look how they try to look like, bro, this is the problem. This is why these media companies need to just go. Just vanish, go broke, something, whatever. Just look how they always want to put everything like, it's like, yo, they
Putin's approval in a way that's got to be very disturbing to Zelensky sitting there.
This isn't CNN's first rodeo. They should know the first time Putin and Zelensky talk should be face-to-face, not on speakerphone. And what? Trump's not supposed to call Vlad to set up the next round of talks? Who else is he going to call? Obama talked to Putin. Hillary talked to Putin. Biden even talked to Putin. How are you supposed to end the war if you don't talk to the guy who started it? CNN tried to get the Finns to leak another perfect phone call.
Do you know what Trump said to Putin on the phone? I mean, what were the specifics that he put out there?
Obviously, in diplomacy, what happens in the Oval Office stays in the Oval Office when the media is not in there. I've been involved in peace mediation before, and I think that President Trump is genuinely trying to bring this war to an end.
They hate it.
Trump says
they hate the fact that Trump is winning, bro.
We had a very good call, and I told them that we're going to set up a meeting with President Zelensky, and you and he will meet, and then after that meeting, if everything works out, okay, I'll meet and we'll wrap it up. But, it takes, in this case, two to tango. They have to have somewhat of a relationship. Otherwise, we're just wasting a lot of time. I don't want to be.
Yeah, like you could tell, even when you go and look at when they had the meeting in Zelensky, and they had the meeting with Zelensky, with them, and then, before that, when Trump had, was taking questions from the press, you could just tell that Trump is just done with this whole situation. Like, he just wants it to be over. And that's why he like, oh, okay, everybody with it. Yeah, matter of fact, because the one guy, the Germany president said something like, the next time, we have this committee meeting, it should be a ceasefire. This shouldn't still be going. And Trump was like, yo, you right. You know what I mean? Hold on. Matter of fact, let me call Putin right now. He called that motherfucker like, yo, listen, look, he ready to make this deal. We need to go ahead and make this happen. Like right now. You know what I'm saying? But you could tell he just want this shit to be over with.
Be doing that I just want to end it.
The White House says Putin's agreed to meet Zelensky one-on-one.
I didn't even know he was going to say that.
Could happen within the next few weeks.
I told you, bro. You can
tell. They're shopping around for a site. Budapest is now.
You could tell, bro. You could tell by his. Bro, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a body language expert or nothing like that. But I'm pretty good with it. And you could just tell. Like, it doesn't take a rocket science. Like, you could just tell he's done with this shit. You know what I'm saying? he wants to have, he wants to have good diplomacy, good relationships with all of these foreign presidents, whether they allies or not. He wants to have good trade, all of that. Like, he just wants to, he wants America to get to the bag. He's a businessman, bro. He ain't with all the goofy shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, he ain't with all that. Like, he wants to see motherfuckers win, especially in America.
But Switzerland making a last-second play, promising not to arrest the Russian leader on war crimes. How diplomatic. But Obama's right-hand woman, Susan Rice, says Trump doesn't understand the art of the deal.
Russia interfered in the 2016 election by disinformation campaigns. And rather than put the sort of pressure on Putin and Russia, he is rolling out the red carpet, doing military flyovers, giving him a ride in the presidential limousine.
Rice thought buzzing Putin with B-2s was an honor? That was a flex. And why not get to know each other in the beast? 41 flew VAD on Marine One, took him to Kennebunkport to meet with his son. They rode up and down the Maine coast on the family's Fidelity 3. Could you imagine if Trump took Putin to Bedminster and played a round of golf? Picking up the phone isn't even close to that. Rice's commander-in-chief wrote love letters to the Ayatollah. Did that stop the Iranians from nuking up? No. Hillary gave the Russians a reset button. Did that stop the Russians from invading Ukraine? No. The Democrats can sit this one out. Trump's just fixing the left's mess.
From the beginning of this entire process, much of the left-wing media has been actively rooting against the President of the United States in the pursuit of peace. All weekend following those historic U.S.-Russia bilateral talks, we listened to clueless pundits on television trying but failing to claim that the president had failed. The so-called experts in the foreign policy establishment, whose record is nothing but endless wars, trillions of wasted taxpayer dollars, and dead Americans, have the nerve to try and lecture President Trump, who has solved 7 global conflicts in 7 months.
Trump stopping wars that started on Democrats' watch. Even the monks get it. Even Democrats like Stephen A. get it.
It was Biden in office when a full-fledged war against Ukraine took place. It was Russia that invaded Crimea, and that was under the Obama administration. It was Clinton in office when you made a deal that disarmed Ukraine and therefore weakened them, leaving them dependent on the United States. What I'm saying is promises made are supposed to be promises kept.
What was Joe Biden's plan to win the war in Ukraine? He didn't have one. What was Biden's plan to end the war in Ukraine? He didn't have one. If Kamala won, did she have a strategy? Of course not. The Europeans just don't want to be next on Putin's menu. And that makes sense. But now that Trump made Europe foot the bill for the war, they're like, all right, let's call it a day. After their meeting yesterday, they told Trump at the table, great talk. We'll see you in a month or two.
They said a month or two? You're going to have another 40,000 people dead in a month or two. You have to do it tonight.
The Obama-Biden doctrine of strategic patience, a.k.a. don't change anything, just got doged. Trump doesn't have time for shenanigans. And if you look at the body count, neither does Ukraine. You can see why the president has the wind at his back. Trump's approval rating's been surging. Insider Advantage has him up 8 points since July. But Trump's not making peace for politics or for the Nobel Peace Prize, maybe just a little. He's doing it because he wants to walk through the pearly gates.
I want to try and get to heaven if possible. I'm hearing I'm not doing well. I hear I'm really at the bottom of the totem pole. But if I can get to heaven, this will be one of the reasons.
Hey, yo.
When Trump got shot in the head in Butler, it changed him.
Yo, the funniest part about that is he's dead serious. That's the funny part, is that he's dead serious.
He believes God saved his life to keep him on earth, to put America first and stop the killing. And deep down, Trump knows he's been a little bit of a bad boy. So ending the Ukraine war is going to go a long way with the big guy upstairs. Good acts like ending war.
But you see how he said, though? He said, just look at the difference. It's so, it's not even close. When Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, they was just like, don't. Talking about the immigrants coming over the border. Don't come. They was flying them in. Telling Putin, don't invade Ukraine. He dropping bombs over there. Like, bro, Trump is like, they're like, all right, we'll see you in a month or two. He's like, no, what are you talking about? 40, 50,000 people could be dead by then. Like, no, we need this done tonight. Like, he's trying to get this done ASAP, like, right now. When what's her name? Karen Bass over there in, I think, San Francisco, when all, California, when all of them wildfires was going on, when he got in, they sat down for a meeting and he was talking about basically because they had some reserves or they had something that they could have put in place that would have helped with the wildfire situation, and they was talking about, you know, we gotta look at, you know, the safety, and we gotta go through these protocols and regulations, and Trump like, man, fuck all that. People want to rebuild right now. Like right now, like tonight. Like, so he don't be playing games, bro. Like, he really be like on some shit like, no, we getting this done now. Like, I'm not waiting. And that's why I just think about it. Look how much stuff that he's done in 6 months, bro. Like, he's done 10 times more than what Joe Biden and them ain't do shit. So he did way more than they ever could do in 6 months than they did their whole administration.
Wars don't automatically get you into heaven. As my good friend Harold Ford Jr. says, you also have to love your neighbor as you love yourself and love your Lord with all of your heart. So Trump is this close. I'm sure he's in. And we all know God loves song, and so does the president. In between brokering bilaterals, he's testing out the speaker system on the brand new White House patio.
What? Trump funny as hell. Yo, Trump definitely, he's gonna go down as the best president ever. Like, seriously. And like the good thing about it is, it's not even about all of that personal accomplishment type of things. It's the fact that if he gets where I believe that he wants to go, you know, low rent, people can afford homes, low groceries, gas, all of these good things, jobs for Americans, stopping all of the crime that's been going on, all of the fentanyl, illegal immigrants, all of these different components. If he does well, then that's pretty much the blueprint for any president that comes after him, because you know he can't run again. So this gonna be the blueprint. So no Americans is gonna be looking to like mess that up. So everybody's gonna be diligent on how they vote going forward, bro. Watch. I guarantee you. And that's the reason why people have been saying that Democrats aren't going to get back in office, because of basically their ideology. Like, it's just, they be on some other shit. Just being honest. They care more about men being in women's sports, transgender people, and putting that stuff in school for children and all types of goofy shit that just doesn't. Reproductive health, aka, you know, the word. I be talking crazy, and I don't want to say this. Whatever. Anyway, on to the next clip about another Democrat loser. One of the biggest losers. This motherfucking Gavin Newsom, he just looks like a used car salesman, just like a motherfucker that's just grimy. Just grimy. Yo, have you seen the clip? I don't know where it's from. I don't know if it was from when he ran for governor or what. I don't know what it was from, but he was debating another guy. Don't know who he is, but the guy said, basically, to sum it all up, basically, how could you trust a guy who basically, I think he said, trust a guy who fucks his best friend's wife. You know what I mean? He didn't say it in that way, but basically that's what he said. Like, how can you trust that this, like, he would be loyal or he said something around in that reference, basically saying that Gavin Newsom fucked his best friend's wife. So he can't be trusted. How could you trust a guy like that who would do such a thing? I was like, damn, oh shit. I knew Gavin Newsom was one of them grimy motherfuckers. You slick bastard. Anyway, let's get on to it with Sean Hannity. You could just see the difference in, like, because I really just, when it comes to Fox Live, I watch Jesse Waters and Sean Hannity pretty much. And I fuck with, like, damn, I can't think of her name off top, but, like, Laura Ingraham. I'm going to show her, too.
Welcome to Hannity and breaking tonight. It is official. The Texas House has approved a new congressional map, which could net Republicans up to 5 additional seats in the very important midterm elections in 2026. And if Democrats turn this into a nationwide redistricting fight, which I hope they do, they will lose badly, as there is little to nothing left for them to gerrymander in blue states. And congratulations to Governor Greg Abbott. A job well done. We'll have more on that straight ahead tonight. Also, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, our friend, just diagnosed one of the worst political problems in D.C. Right on the money. Take a look.
So we're going to ignore these stupid white hippies that all need to go home and take a nap because they're all over 90 years old.
Now, today, some of those ultra-privileged hippies were not happy to see members of the Trump administration in Union Station. They are deeply appalled by the president's efforts to keep them safe and secure. We got that exchange coming up. But we begin tonight in the beautiful state of California. If you want a glimpse into what America would become if a radical Democrat wins the White House, pay very close attention. Despite what is a vast, stunning natural resources in California, great weather, beautiful geography, beautiful oceans. The Golden State has become totally unlivable for so many Americans. After years of Democratic one-party rule, Californians, look at these numbers. They are fleeing the state in droves, with the largest net migration in the entire country. It even recently lost a congressional seat for the first time ever and is projected to lose at least 4 more seats by 2030. So let us be clear. The state's radical Democratic agenda, led by our old friend Gavin Newsom, is to blame for all of this. Unfortunately, that might be news to Gavin. His attention seems to be elsewhere, embarrassing himself, running for president. In fact, he's now so totally fixated and focused on doing whatever he can do to win his party's 2028 nomination. It's like he changes every single hour of every day, and frankly, it's getting hard to watch. Even morning liberal Joe agrees with me. Now, currently, he and his social media team, they are busy trying to mock President Trump on X by posting messages in all caps. He's trying to pretend to be Donald Trump. Gavin is also attacking Fox News hosts. He's trying to bait conservatives into social media fights. He's actually referred to our own Tommy Laren's account as Yelp for toilets. Gee, very clever and funny. She'll join us in a moment to respond. Gavin, look, I know Gavin. In person, he can be a very likable guy. I know he's slick. I got it. I've got his number. But unfortunately, it is his radical policies. That's where the disaster is for him. Pretending to be President Trump.
Don't he just remind you of the guy, like, in the movie, like, who's just, like, grimy, you know what I'm saying? Like, he he looked like a villain, like that type of person. Like, he like a villain. Like, he like a piece of shit, bruh.
is not only embarrassing, it will not negate the disastrous policies and positions and the horrible state that California is in. Now, that includes Gavin's campaign to woo conservatives. First, he was going to be a podcaster and interview Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk. That didn't work out after he got caught, of course, in an embarrassing lie, actually one after another. Take a look.
The Latinx stuff that, by the way, not one person ever in my office has ever used the word Latinx.
So can we finally put that to bed?
Yeah,
we agree?
But where did that even
No
go?
more Latinx,
like,
everybody.
Well, I just didn't even know where it came from. I'm like, what are people talking about? I hope we can really paint a picture in terms of our consciousness of how impactful this has been on the Latinx community. About 3/4 of renters in the state that have fallen behind in rent, represented in the Latino and African American community, the Latinx and Black communities.
Look how they just
politicians that are banning not assault rifles, but the word Latinx. They're not even serious.
And it gets worse from there. Now,
like he's like all of them, they're just alike, bro. They just lie. Like he's on the podcast with Charlie Kirk, and I saw that episode, and he's just trying to play both sides sort of, and like play buddy with Charlie Kirk. But I'm gonna say it again. You see how quick Sean Hannity just showed clips of him using the term Latinx after he just said, I don't even know who made this up? Where did it even come from? Like he never used it. And then Sean Hannity went and pulled up clips of him using it. So, like, I keep saying it. Technology, social media, the internet in general is going to not be good for anybody, especially when you in the spotlight, like a Gavin Newsom, Donald Trump, and so forth and so forth. It's going to come to light. You're going to have people that's out here that just can't wait to expose you. And, like, this is easy. Like, Sean Hannity didn't even have to pull none of this up. Like, his peoples that, that work for him did it.
Gavin, you're not going to listen to me, but maybe you'll consider focusing on your day job, maybe help end crime, homelessness, lower taxes. People in your state are way overtaxed. Help the people in the Pacific Palisades rebuild. Maybe have some water in the hydrants and the reservoir. Sadly, everything for Newsom is just a political stunt or a political game. His end goal is he thinks this might make him president. He's more Trump-like, but he's not Trump. It's not making life better for people in California. A huge political miscalculation, but Gavin doesn't listen to me. His views as governor have changed year after year. Based on polling and trends, his views will also change during any Democratic primary. If nominated, his views will likely change yet again during a general election, but his record will forever haunt him. The country will be faced with the question, if he's the nominee, do you want America to become California? He just spent, the last several weeks bashing President Trump over the Texas redistricting fight while threatening to gerrymander his own state even more. Not that there's much left to gerrymander. Of course, this very public political battle doesn't help the people of California at all. It doesn't even help the Democratic Party. Helps nobody. It hurts Gavin Newsom. It's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for him. But Gavin Newsom doesn't care. His sole focus appears to be his own political career on the national stage. Now, if you want to have a job, a new job, what's the best way to get a promotion? Simple. Be great at your current job. And the really sad part is now California is getting left in the dust. When you cut through all the clutter and all the gimmicks and all the performative stunts and all the transformations, Gavin the podcaster, Gavin acting like Trump, this is Newsom's record. That will be at the heart of any campaign he runs in the future, should he ever run. Anyway, assuming he does run for president. Let's start with something he's really sensitive about, and that is his many failures surrounding horrific wildfires in Southern California. After all, shouldn't the buck stop with the governor? On January 7th, firefighters, they showed up to protect their communities bravely, only to discover that there was no water The state's water supply had been totally mismanaged. A key reservoir was empty. Critical fire hydrants were non-operational, no water in them. As a result, entire neighborhoods burned to the ground all the way to the ocean. Look at this disaster. And according to the L.A. Times, nearly 13,000 households were displaced from the sky. All you could see was block after block after block. Look at this disaster of charred rubble. And remember, wildfires, Santa Ana winds, California. I did live in Southern California for 5 years. All of it is predictable, a predictable event. You can prepare for that. And here's where things get much worse. Out of the thousands and thousands of homes that were burned to the ground, only 145 successfully receiving permits to rebuild more than 7 months later. And this is just the process to begin construction.
I was just saying that. That's what the when they had that meeting. I don't remember if Gavin Newsom was there, but I know Karen Bass was there, and Trump was discussing everything with him, like about the reservoir that was empty and all of them different things, and saying like this could have been avoided, like with no problems. But basically, he kept saying, under Joe Biden's leadership and all of that, and so he basically was saying like, this needs to be, people want to rebuild now. You know what I mean? And it was a lot of like nice homes too. So it was like people that, had money, so they could afford to rebuild.
Not even rebuilding your home. According to one developer, quote, building a house in L.A. can mean filing paperwork with a half a dozen or more government agencies. Yeah. Most homeowners haven't even been able to start this process because 7 months after the fire, California officials have yet to finalize all the rules and regulations surrounding rebuilding efforts. And anyway, here is more of Gavin's record. And if you want America to be California, then guess what? This is what America would look like if a radical Democrat is elected. As governor of California, he is home to it has the largest homeless population in the entire country, far worse, for example, than my free state of Florida, both in terms of sheer numbers and per capita. In every major city across the state, sidewalks, they're lined with tents, open-air drug use, public defecation, urination. Look at your screen. Right on this here on this program during his debate with Gavin Newsom, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Remember, he pulled out that San Francisco poop map, charting out all of the sightings of human waste in the city, in the streets. As you can see, the map is almost all brown. Now, this is a massive failure from a state that collects more taxes than any other state in the country. Look at your screen, comparing California's tax rates, the income tax rate. It is the highest in the country. Sales tax rate, also the highest in the country. Corporate tax rate, the 6th highest in the country. The state's gas tax is by far the highest in the country, and it just went up again in 2025. Now, instead of solving these real problems, improving the state of California as governor, he's choosing to spend his days doing a ridiculous, inauthentic, cheap imitation of President Trump without success after failing as a podcaster who wants to get along with conservatives. And meanwhile, California's violent crime rate is way above the national average, more than double the rate in my free state of Florida. So where are all the Golden State's tax dollars going? Here's just one egregious example. Take a look.
We have an actual number of illegal immigrant health care that the state taxpayers are covering in this year's budget.
Guadalupe Manriquez with the California Department of Finance. So in the current year, to cover undocumented individuals in Medi-Cal, we're spending $9.5 billion total funds.
So it's not the $6 billion that people continue to talk about in the media. It's $9.5 billion.
Was a Budget Act number. This is a revised number based on the governor's budget updated estimates.
Now, the governor has been luring unvetted illegal immigrants to his sanctuary state for years with protections, generous handouts. And why doesn't California keep statistics?
Bro, just think about that. She said $9 billion annually. That's yearly. For illegal immigrants in California, bro. Think about that, bro. All of that money could be going to, getting homeless people off the street, fixing up the neighborhood, getting a few more police out there to stop the crime, whatever. This motherfucker gave $9 billion to illegal immigrants.
Of illegal immigrant crime in that state.
Bread,
how many innocent Californians have been murdered and raped and victims of violent crime because of these insane aid and abetting policies? And in case you're wondering, California, the highest tax state in the country, is now facing a $10+ billion budget deficit. How's that possible? So, Gavin, keep playing make-believe Donald Trump and let your state suffer. And sadly, we see the same thing in almost every other deep blue state. Americans, they've had enough. Look at the New York Times report. Quote, the Democratic Party faces a voter registration crisis. The party is bleeding support beyond the ballot box. A new analysis shows, look at the graph, in all red, blue states and battleground states, the Democratic Party is losing registered supporters dramatically between 20 and 24. They lost 2.1 million voters. Republicans gained 2.4 million for a net gain of 4.5 million Republicans. So in my humble, advice to Gavin, he won't listen to me. He used to like me. Not sure what happened. I have a point. Results matter. A new performative, confrontational style. Maybe it wins you points with the loony radical base in your party, but America is not going to vote for that record. It's not going to fix the very real exodus from your state and from other Democratic states. And maybe you should focus on making people's lives better in your state. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click.
That motherfucker ruining California, bro. Remember they had the EV mandate? They had, everybody out there had to drive electric cars, all types of shit, bro. He ruining that state, bro. And California is the second biggest state or the first? It's a big state. A lot of people go to California to chase their dreams. It's definitely a hot spot, in America for sure. And a lot of people are getting the fuck out of there. A lot of people are going to Florida where there's no, I think it's no income tax. Excuse me. And they just getting up out of there, bro. I would too. I live in Jersey. I live in a Democratic state. I be like, man, I need to get the fuck up out of here, man, because you dealing with these, it's just weird, bro. And it's so crazy how fast stuff move. Even with that whole, if your kids wanted to be, transgender or something, the school didn't have to tell the parents, or, they could keep it from them, and they calling them different names, all types of stuff. That stuff happened so quick. You heard about it, and then, it was, really happening, like that. So, it's just crazy, bro. It's crazy. But we gonna end it with this last segment with J.D. Vance and Laura Ingraham. Just wanted to see what J.D. Vance was talking about.
Mr. Vice President, thank you for having us here today.
Good to see you.
So you had quite an eventful morning over at Union Station, as we saw in that clip. Tell us about how you decided to go over there. A lot of us D.C. residents and former D.C. residents know it well, but it's been the site of a lot of crime in recent years. Of course. And you decided to pay a visit. What happened?
Well, so a couple things. So first of all, I had heard from a couple of friends who used to avoid Union Station because there were vagrants and there were crazy people screaming at kids, that they avoided Union Station. But over the past 9 days, since the president did this emergency order, it looks a lot better. It feels a lot safer. So I was talking with Stephen Miller and with Pete Hegseth about this in the Oval Office yesterday. And I was like, we should just go over there and say hello to people. And you've got a lot of National Guardsmen over there, some D.C. cops who have been heckled by some of the protesters. So I thought, what a good show of moral support to have the vice president and some of the senior team at the White House show up. We bought him some burgers, hang out with him a little bit. And actually, the most interesting thing, Laura, was after the cameras left, Pete and Steve and I stayed and, had lunch with these troops and just learned a lot about what they're seeing, about how much the city has changed in just the past 9 days. So crazy statistic, violent crime has dropped in D.C. 35% in 9 days. Robberies in D.C. have dropped 55% in 9 days. And it highlights the fact that this living with lawlessness and disorder, that's fundamentally a question of political will.
Exactly. And it could change if you wanted to. Just like I said before, when the Chinese president came to California, Gavin Newsom cleared up the streets. It was nice and spick and span and clean and all of that. You know what I mean? So crime, drugs on the streets, fentanyl, coming across the border, illegal immigrants all over these sanctuary cities and all of that. It's all by choice. It's all by design, and it could easily not happen. But they wanted to happen.
If you've got the political will to enforce the law, you can make even cities like D.C. safe again. And that's what we're demonstrating. And I hope that the American people take an important lesson from this, because obviously D.C. is a federal city. New York, L.A., these places are not. I hope the American people just recognize that you don't have to live with lawlessness. You don't have to live with third world murder rates. If you just take control of these cities, you can make them safe places to live in.
So your pal Gavin Newsom calls this an abuse of power, that this is just a power grab, and this is all stunt for show, and that you all are going to roll through other cities. You've heard things about, it's martial law is going to be declared.
Yep.
And to that you say?
Well, first of all, how is it a power grab or how is it a stunt when we've already declined murders by 35% in 9 days? How many people are living and breathing today because Donald Trump had the willpower to say, you know what, we're sick of D.C. being a home to lawlessness. We're going to bring some public order back to the nation's capital. So what I would say to Gavin Newsom or to anybody else in some of these big blue states or big blue cities is you can have law and order, you can have common decency, you can have public spaces that young families can go to again. Tell you a story, Laura. A couple of years ago, the last time I was in Union Station, I took my little kids there to get lunch, and they were being screamed at by homeless people, not compassionate to the homeless people to let them just fester when they clearly have mental health problems, not compassionate to young families to not be able to go into one of America's great public spaces without being screamed at by a person clearly suffering
Why are
from a
Democrats
mental
doing
illness.
this?
I don't know.
Why is this
I
a
don't
political
know.
strategy for
Laura,
them?
I have thought about this so often and so many times. I don't know why Democrats seem to love public disorder and chaos almost as a political ideology. And I think that part of what's going on is Democrats have gotten so divorced from the communities that they allegedly serve that they don't realize the gross majority of residents in D.C., they want to walk through Union Station and just have a bite to eat or enjoy the space with their families. They don't realize that so many people have been absolutely terrorized by Democrat crime policies. And so maybe they just don't make the connection between what Gavin Newsom says and the fact that places like D.C. or Los Angeles have some of the highest murder rates in the world.
And the D.C. police are being investigated for potentially manipulating their crime data. I've heard this from other police forces across the country. Great cops, beat cops in places like Chicago have said, some of the crimes are reclassified to make a burglary something that's more of a disturbance, and that kind of stuff happens. But is this a federal issue at this point, if this is a manipulation of data and if it's widespread?
Well, it's certainly something that's being investigated, and I hope that we'll uncover what's going on. But even aside from any manipulation of data, when you have 911 wait times that are so long, a lot of crime doesn't even get reported. And we heard this all the time. People would say, well, my home's being robbed. I'm not even going to call the police because it's going to be 45 minutes before they show up. And that's not an indictment of the beat cop, by the way. They're so overwhelmed by how much violent crime there is that they're unable to actually bring public safety to these communities. So what we're doing is just changing the balance a little bit. We're putting more good guys on the streets, and we're taking more bad guys off the streets. And we think that's the sort of thing that's going to bring public safety back to D.C. Again, it's already working in a very big way.
Now, on to Ukraine. Your February meeting with Zelensky and the president, that was quite something to behold.
It was good TV.
How did you all break the ice this time? Take us into the room, because we're all dying to know that.
Well, I think when President Zelensky walked into the Oval Office, I was chatting with him, with the president, with some of the senior Ukrainian delegation. I said, Mr. President, so long as you behave, I won't say anything. And he just chuckled a little bit, and it was a good little icebreaker. I mean, what the president's trying to do, meaning our president is trying to do, is bring a 3.5-year, very brutal conflict to a stop. It's killed way too many Ukrainians, way too many Russians. It's completely transformed the economy of Europe and of big parts of Asia. We just got to get back to peace. And I really do think you heard Vladimir Putin say this, that if Donald Trump had been president in 2022, this war would have never started. And now the president is really spending a lot of time, a lot of effort to stop Joe Biden's war, because I think it is Joe Biden's war. Without him being weak and provocative, I don't think that Russia would have invaded Ukraine. And now we have a situation where the president is trying to be strong and bold and trying to bring this thing to a close.
Now, take us into the room when the president said, I'm going to call Putin now. And you got the Western leaders, they've all come to Washington. Now, what was their facial expression at that point? Did they anticipate that this was going to happen? Because it was, 8 hours ahead, Moscow time?
Yeah, it was like 1 a.m. Moscow time, and they had no anticipation. So we're actually in the east wing of the White House, and the president says, we've had a pretty good meeting. I'm going to go call Vladimir Putin and see what he says about it. And everybody's like, oh, you're going to call him next week? And he's like, no, what time is it in Moscow? Let's call him right now. And I think one of the things I've realized about President Trump's leadership is he cuts through the BS of some of these diplomatic protocols and just says, I'm going to get things done. If I want to talk to somebody, I'm going to talk to somebody. You had a lot of the Europeans who were saying, no, there needs to be proper, vetting, and the teams have to prepare the phone call and blah, 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 blah. And the president was like, no. I want to talk to the guy. I'm going to talk to the guy. And I think that kind of no holds barred, no BS diplomacy is part of the reason why we've made the progress we have. And we've made a lot of progress, Laura. Look, who knows what's going to happen? The president tells me this all the time. You can never say with certainty what the outcome in this situation is going to be. But we now have the Russians talking to the Ukrainians. They're talking details about what would be necessary on each side to stop the fighting and stop the killing. We've made more progress in 3 months than the country had made in 3 years in stopping this conflict. And I think it's because sometimes you just need a president who will pick up the phone and call somebody.
When Vladimir Putin meets with Volodymyr Zelensky, can we assume that all the big details will have been discussed and generally agreed upon, namely the security agreement and land swap?
It's a good question. I think that if you go through the bureaucratic process, then the answer is yes. But I think the president's preference and my preference would be, let's have them meet regardless. You don't have to figure out every issue. And sometimes leaders sitting down face to face can break the logjam that their teams don't necessarily have the ability to do. There really are 2 big questions lingering out there. And in some ways it's very simple, but in some ways it's very complicated. Number one is Ukraine wants to know that it's not going to get invaded again by Russia. It wants to know that it's got territorial integrity long into the future. The Russians want certain pieces of territory, most of which they've occupied, but some of which they haven't. So that is really where the meat of the negotiation is. The Ukrainians want security guarantees. The Russians want a certain amount of territory. Again, Ain't
it crazy to know that people is dying every single day? Like, they said 1,000 people a day on both sides, pretty much, I'm assuming. It's all over. It could all be nipped in the bud with just saying, all right, you can have this little bit of land. All right, we'll give you a little bit of this back. All right, here goes some of the prisoners that we got of yours. All right, here goes something so simple, they're making so complicated. It's crazy.
We finally got the details. We're working on them, but we haven't figured everything out. And I don't think that we should force, we shouldn't say that they can't sit down until you figured out every little detail. Sometimes them sitting down is what facilitates figuring out those details.
You have been so strong on the idea of Europe paying for Europe's defense.
Sure.
And I think a lot of Americans don't understand that the EU GDP last year was about $19.18 trillion, if I'm right, give or take. And the UK's is about $2.9 trillion. Sure. Ours is $29.8 trillion, right?
You know the numbers better than I do. You should be Treasury Secretary.
Yeah. Sorry, Scott, I got your job. No, but so this is a lot of money. Europe has the money to defend itself. So the security agreement, my question to you is, Why should America carry the lion's share of the burden from now until Lord knows when for Europe when Europe has the money to defend itself?
Well, I don't think we should carry the burden here. I think that we should be helpful if it's necessary to stop the war and to stop the killing. But I think that we should expect, and the president certainly expects, Europe to play the leading role here. And what he said very clearly is, look, the United States is open to having the conversation, but we're not going to make commitments until we figure out what's going to be necessary to stop the war in the first place. And I think that it's, the president is very good. He never takes anything off the table. He never puts anything fully on the table because he doesn't want to give away his leverage. And this is the private conversation that we're all going to have about what's necessary to stop the war. But no matter what happens, no matter what form this takes, the Europeans are going to have to take the lion's share of the burden. It's their continent, it's their security, and the president's been very clear they're going to have to step up here.
What's it like meeting Putin? What was he like, just one-on-one?
So I've actually never met Putin. The president did that meeting. I've talked to him on the phone a number of times. It's interesting. He's more soft-spoken than you would necessarily expect. The American media has a particular image of him. He's soft-spoken in a certain way. He's very deliberate. He's very careful. And I think fundamentally he's a person who looks out for the interests as he sees it of Russia. And I think one of the reasons he respects the President of the United States is because he knows the President looks out for the interests of the American people. And while they often disagree about issues, and obviously the president has been very critical of Vladimir Putin, the president's also willing to work with anybody if he thinks it's going to accomplish an important goal for America. And we all agree an important goal is to stop the killing.
Let's move to the economy, because that is still the number one issue in the United States for most voters.
Sure.
The Democrats seem to be banking on an economic downturn, just like they seem to be banking on chaos in the streets against the National Guard.
Sure.
How do you see the economy in the next 6 months as we're seeing some continuing uncertainty regarding interest rates and Jerome Powell?
Well, unfortunately, you have the Democrats. I think they really are betting against the United States. We're betting on the United States and the American people. There are a lot of good things happening in the economy. You have a lot of new investment coming in part because the tariffs. People are trying to avoid the tariffs by building in the United States, which is their whole point, Laura, and why the president has been right about this issue from the beginning. You see blue-collar wages rising at their fastest rate in 50, 60 years. You see inflation cooling off, though there's still a lot of work to do there. So I feel very good about where the economy is. You can never predict the future, but I think what people all over the world recognize is that it's a time to build in the United States of America. If you want to build a car, you want to build a car manufacturing facility, if you want to build a next generation technology facility, if you want to build houses, whatever you want to do, we are the place to do business.
How about rare earths and magnets, which is what we're dependent on with China, which gives them an enormous amount of leverage over us.
And that's something the president has really directed the entire team to fix that issue, because whether it's rare earth magnets or pharmaceuticals, he wants the United States to depend on Americans. We should not be in a situation where foreign adversaries or competitors have control over critical parts of our economy. Think about this, Laura. God forbid Americans are in some sort of conflict and we can't get antibiotics because we're in a conflict against a country that makes the antibiotics. You don't have economic freedom and you don't have real prosperity unless you make your own stuff. That's why the president of the United States is making it so much easier to build things and make things in America.
Now, I know you love talking about politics because you're going to say, well, we can't look forward to 2028. I understand that.
I'm sick of politics,
But Democrats are still doing their 2024 autopsy.
Yes.
Okay. And part of their autopsy is that going forward, they need to kind of be more like Trump in tone, tougher, have nicknames. Newsom's given you a nickname, which I don't even understand, called Just Dance Vance. So I guess, what's your favorite dance? What's your favorite dance music? I mean, it's the dumbest nickname. But how lost are the Democrats right now? And you can answer the dance question.
I mean, look, the autopsy for the Democrats, some free political advice from the President of the United States is stop sounding like crazy people. That really is all it is. I mean, this idea that Gavin Newsom is somehow going to mimic Donald Trump's style, I think that ignores the fundamental genius of President Trump's political success, which is that he's authentic. He just is who he is. You've got to be yourself. You've actually got to talk to people honestly about the issues. I don't think it's that complicated. Don't be a crazy person. Be authentic. If the Democrats did that, they'd do a hell of a lot better. But the thing is, the Democrats really can't help themselves. If you look at the transgender issue, they're still talking about letting, men play in women's sports. If you look at the crime issue, they're calling Donald Trump a fascist for taking action that in 9 days has dropped armed robberies by 55%. So part of sounding less crazy is being less crazy. And if the Democrats were less crazy, I think we'd all get along a whole lot better.
I'm not trying to pick on California because I am a member of the California bar, so don't get me here. But look, we've had a situation where they're giving commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens who can't speak English.
Who don't have basic English competency.
And they're killing Americans,
which matters a whole lot because if you're going to read a road sign, Laura, you might as well, or you need to actually read the language the road sign is written in. And of course, this illegal alien in California killed 3 innocent people because he was reckless, he was dangerous, he shouldn't have been in the country. But now we come to find out he can't even read in the language the road signs are written in. So this is, again, it goes to the Democrats' basic problem, which is they're just too crazy. Imagine if you
Bro, they be doing anything, bro. This is how you know they just want to ruin America, bro. Like, bro, they can't, bro. This can't be real, bro. Like, the fact that, like, you just gotta really, like, why are they going so hard for illegal aliens? Like, why? Like, I don't get it. They don't even go this hard for their own constituents. The ones who are at these meetings complaining about everything. Like, this is crazy, man. I gotta finish this video up, man. I gotta get some sleep. As y'all can see, I'm beat. I got off work. I worked some overtime. I said, man, I gotta go straight in and do my video now because if I go to sleep, I ain't gonna get up. And then I'm going to miss out on my live today. But let's finish this video up.
We had a Democratic Party that was focused on enhancing the prosperity and the safety of American citizens rather than bringing in millions of
Bro, just think about that, though. Like, even me, you gotta go through the process to get your license. Like, you gotta take the test, you gotta take the driver's portion, and you get your license. They just giving illegal aliens, immigrants, licenses. And they can't even speak the language. They don't even understand the language. Like, just think about how nutty that is. This is how you know they are the party of chaos, bro. They want people out here protesting, burning down buildings, assaulting officers, raping people, killing, like, all types of stuff, bro. You just, like, you see what's going on and you just gotta think that, like, it's all by design, bro.
low-wage illegal immigrants, giving them the right to vote, and allowing them to effectively make it harder for Americans to live a good life. That's all this is about. They care more about low-wage foreigners than they do about their own people. That is the fundamental craziness at the heart of the Democratic Party. And until they change that, Gavin Newsom can mimic Donald Trump all that he wants to. They're still going to lose unless they get better policies that actually serve the American people.
Given the fact that they're endangering the lives and killing American citizens, as we saw with that horrific crash in Florida.
Literally killing American citizens.
Literally killing Americans. I mean, these are not made-up statistics. These just happen. I mean, federal highway funds, that's leverage that the federal government has over the states that refuse to do the basics.
That's exactly
Would you consider advising that DOT and the administration pull back on federal highway funds for these states?
So I don't want to get ahead of any administration announcements, but we are looking at a whole host of points of leverage we can exercise over California and other states to make sure they comply with the law. Sanctuary cities are killing people because you allow these violent criminals to set up shop in your cities. Obviously, you saw this case with a person who murdered people on the road, 3 people on the road, because he couldn't even read the road signs. We have a lot of points of leverage here, but fundamentally, I think the American people have to stand with us here. Because when we go and tell the governor of California or the governor of New York that you have to stop putting the interests of illegal aliens over American citizens, we need the American people to stand with us. And I think that they will. I think that they are. But we're definitely not going to let this slide, Laura. You can't do it. You've got to stop putting the interests of foreigners who don't have the right to be here over the interests of American citizens. That is the entire point and purpose of the Democratic Party. If you go back to the election of 2024, what was the big issue? The big issue was illegal immigration. They were actually defending the rights of illegal immigrants to come into our country, to vote in our elections, to collect Social Security and Medicaid that ought by right go to American citizens, to say nothing of housing. This is actually the biggest driver of housing costs in some of these big blue cities, is that they've flooded the zone with illegal immigrants. As we've kicked illegal aliens out of our country, you actually see housing costs start to level off. So fundamentally, the difference between Republicans and Democrats is we care about American citizens. They actually don't like American citizens and want to replace them with low-wage foreigners. It's a very stark difference, and I think the American people are going to continue to reward us because of it.
All right. When Elon Musk departed, he said it was, dramatic departure. And I know you know him well, you're good friends with him, but he said he's going to start a third party and that sent everyone into the stratosphere. But he's since kind of backed off that. And now, according to the Wall Street Journal, he is considering backing you in 2028. I know you don't want to get ahead of the president. He's only 7 months into this. But would that be something you would welcome, certainly his staying in politics and perhaps supporting you down the road?
Yeah, so I saw the story, and as far as I can tell, the story is completely fake. I've never talked with Elon Musk or, frankly, any other donor about 2028. I do think that it would be a huge mistake for Elon to go forward with a third party. And my argument to him is, whether you like it or not, you are now perceived by the far left as on the side of the American right. You believe in law and order. You believe in closed borders. You believe in economic growth and prosperity. You believe in making things in the United States of America. The idea that Elon is ever going to go back to being sort of in the middle, where Democrats and Republicans both like him, that's just not going to happen. He is perceived as being on the American right. And so if he doesn't like things the Republican Party is doing, my advice to Elon would be, try to fix the Republican Party. Try to push it in your own way. Disagree with me all you want. Disagree with the President of the United States, but don't pretend that you can make a big difference with a third party. I think Elon would make a much bigger difference if he stayed loyal to President Trump's Republican Party. And if he had disagreements, express those disagreements from the inside as opposed to from the outside.
The New York Times just reported that the Democrats are in a voter registration spiral. 2.1 million Americans ditched the Democrat Party between 2020 and 2024. Meanwhile, the GOP is doing pretty well. They're gaining 2.4 million. So
told you, people waking up, bro. People not going for it, bro. Yo, listen, bro. When you fucked up and your pockets hurting and the struggle to pay them bills, people started being like, yo, what the fuck is going on? And everybody started really paying attention, bro. I told you. Even myself, like, I never talked about politics, man. Especially not this much. Like, this is actually a shocker. I know people be tuning into the podcast like, yo, this nigga talk about politics? Like, what the fuck? This nigga crazy. But, I'm going to switch it up a little bit in a few. But for right now, it's interesting, man. I'm just being honest. It is. And this shit is like affecting us. So I want to keep my, if you tune in, I want to keep you informed of what's going on, man. So that way, when 2028 come around, you make a informed decision and make the best one. And I'm telling you, J.D. Vance going to be the nominee for the Republican Party. And I'm voting for J.D. Vance. I like J.D. Vance. Just listen to him. You know what I mean? He direct, transparent, intelligent. He made his own money. This is a dude that came from the movie Hillbilly Elegy. It was about him. You could look it up on like Netflix. I watched it. It's a good movie. But it's about his life. Like, came from nothing. Went to Harvard. Smart dude. You know what I'm saying? And you could just see like the competence in him. Like, he's witty. He's like, any interview you see with him, you see him like, he ain't stuttering. He ain't like, he's giving you concrete, direct answers. This is what it is. This is how he feels about whatever it is you're talking about. And that's what you want in your president, bro. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want a Kamala Harris, bro. You just don't. Or Joe Biden. You know, Joe Biden was he was a forever politician, but Joe Biden was a racist, bro. You know what I'm saying? He was part of the the one who passed the crime bill. That hurt a lot of black communities. Like, Joe Biden was a racist for sure.
Is this a moment where we could see the midterm curse reversed and the Republican Party gain some ground?
I think we have a good chance, but take nothing for granted, Laura. You have the Democrats are still trying to register illegal aliens. They still explicitly say that they want illegal aliens to vote in federal elections. We still have, I think, a lot of headwinds from the media. They never tell the truth about what we're doing, about what the president has accomplished for the American people. So don't rest on our laurels. Keep on achieving victories for the American people and keep on trying to win. That's our path to being able to continue to govern this country. I'm not going to bank anything in 2026. We just have to keep working at it.
Who's your best friend in the cabinet?
We have a lot of good friends, right? I mean, the weird thing is you say it's one person, then fundamentally that's an insult to other people. I mean, Marco and I are very close. We were close in the Senate. He's been a great friend of mine. I think he's doing a great job. Pete Hegseth, who I went to Union Station, I think is doing a great job as Secretary of Defense. And really the D.C. swamp tried to destroy Pete Hegseth unlike anybody in the administration. And that really kind of, whenever I see the worst people in the world trying to tear a guy down, that makes me think he's on our side.
Are you doing push-ups and pull-ups with him and Bobby? Are you?
I have not yet done, and I'm sure they can do more push-ups and pull-ups than I have. But I am, it's funny. I do love this presidential focus on fitness. And Bobby and Pete are obviously leading the way, but I'm going to participate as much as I can.
You're going to Georgia, big, beautiful bill. Can we expect any fireworks down there? What can we say?
Well, I guess it depends on who's going to show up to the rally. But yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun, talk about the big successes of the big, beautiful bill, the fact that it lowers taxes for the gross majority of Americans, the fact that we're making it easier to build things in America again. So we're going to have a good time, and we're going to talk about all the things the president's doing just to make people's lives better. That's the whole reason we're doing this. We want Americans to be able to live safe, prosperous lives in their own country. We made a lot of progress in 7 months. We're going to make a lot more.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
That sounds good to me. Yo, just imagine if we didn't have Fox News at the minimum. Because all the other stations are, here and there they'll drop some truth, because they ain't got no choice, because the ratings suck. So they gotta let's say something good about Trump so people could tune in. That's how they think. It's so weird, bro. Just think about that though. Like, if Fox was just another, CNN, NBC, MSNBC, ABC, if they was the same as them, like, people really wouldn't get. I mean, I can't say that because you got YouTube. A lot of people got channels who Victor Davis Hanson. He's like a journalist. Alex Jones. This is definitely a lot of them. So technically you can still get. A lot of people don't even watch TV, like regular TV anyway. Everybody on YouTube, to be honest with you. So people still would have been getting it, but as far as just like regular TV goes, like, Fox is the only ones that's really reporting real news, to be honest with you. And that's crazy. It's actually like real crazy. But it is what it is, man. Hey, man, but that's all I got for today, man. It's your boy SL550. This is the N.G.L.A. podcast, man. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe to the channel. It costs you $19 to subscribe and support your boy. I really, truly do appreciate anybody for tapping in, even if it was for a second. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, man, it's your boy SL550. I'm out. Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams. I know niggas who played ball and gave it up for lean.
Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams, but my account in overdraft, I'm about to scream.
Rich man greed,
a poor man prayers.
Every man bleeds,
but look how God made us.
Too many losses, it's only right that we win. Yeah, I made a promise I'm never gonna lose again.